David Davis, welcome to our new show. How are you, my friend?
God, sacked already by the sound of it.
Yeah, gone, man. No longer in the cabinet, no longer an MP.
We won't be far behind.
All right, speak for yourself. David, just let's start. We've got some opinion voxes I'd like you to respond to in just a tick. Let's just talk about Rishi's speech yesterday. To me, it felt like a fresh pitch. To me, it felt like him trying to disassociate himself from the past and project an image for the next 12 months ahead of a general election. Dangerous stuff, brave stuff, and your opinion on whether it struck a chord, my friend, please.
Well, the first thing I'd say, I mean, he talked about a break with the tradition of 30 years. What is that tradition? That's a tradition really since Bill Clinton, when political leaders suddenly started paying really excess attention to opinion polls and focus groups and all that. I mean, if you've been back in the days of Thatcher, which he made reference to, she would pick the right decision and then seek to make it popular, not pick the popular decision and implement that. And that worked. It worked for us for over a decade. It worked much more successfully than any successive Prime Minister, either Tory or Labour. And so, in a way, that's what he's doing. And, of course, he's demonstrating a bit by picking a subject where he knew he was going to have controversy. I'm an HS2. So I thought it was the most thoughtful speech I'd heard from a Prime Minister for a very long time, possibly since Thatcher, in the sense that it's intelligent, it was insightful, he was trying to do the right thing. Clearly, he wasn't balking at arguments, because, you know, cancelling the northern branch of HS2 in Manchester is perhaps about the most provocative thing you can do. So I liked it, frankly. I also, just because nobody's talking about it, but I just thought I thought the introduction by his wife was wonderful. You know, I gave us an insight into the real Rishi and the real Akshata, for that matter. And it completely it was probably scripted, but it was certainly unadvertised, put it that way.
I think she did
well.
I
thought it was very good.
I think it definitely split opinion. Well, definitely did on Twitter and in my household. I thought she was very, very sweet, but it did come across a little bit desperate, I think, whenever a Prime Minister wheels their wife out to do their talking for them. But David, you said the HS2, the scrapping of it, was provocative, but also that Rishi seems to be doing the right thing. Do you think it is the right thing to scrap HS2?
Yeah, well, I'm a Northern MP, and I've always viewed HS2, certainly the northern half, as a massive waste of money. I mean, way back when, you can go look it up, I said it will overrun by at least 4 times, and it's already en route to doing that. It was the trouble with these high-speed lines is they sound like a great idea, but when you put them in place between 2 cities, the bigger city wins. What happens is more business goes towards the bigger city, and so what this will do is suck more business towards London, or would have done. But it was also done instead of what they're now calling, I think, the Northern Powerhouse Network or something like that. Anyway, the Northern Network. I mean, when I went to the conference on Monday, I had to get up at 5 a.m. to get a train to get there from Yorkshire. I'm 100 miles away or less. And that's just a little bit of a symbolic demonstrator of what's wrong up here. We've got lots and lots and lots of poor connections, not just one poor connection, lots of them. And you help business in the north, if that's the aim, by connecting Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, Hull, York, Sheffield, which is what they're intended to do. That's how they're going to use the money. So I think it's a much smarter use of the money. Now, of course, whenever you cancel something, everybody who stands to gain from it is going to complain, and they're going to say it's the worst thing in the world. And I include in that past prime ministers who think it's part of their legacy, who were silly enough to do it in the first place. Bear in mind that we continued with HS2 when George Osborne was imposing austerity on the rest of the economy, which was not a wise decision at that time. So I can see why Cameron's sensitive. You know.
Very interesting, your comments. What we did yesterday was we sort of garnered some comments from people who were up in that area. Have a listen, Dave, if you'd be so kind.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not joined up at all, is it, really, what they're doing? It's a very knee-jerk, but then again, this is government generally, isn't it?
Well, I think that's devastating. I really think that all us northerners deserve to have, you know, a train that comes all the way up to the north to keep us all connected.
another typical London-centric policy, and we haven't had much in the way of transport infrastructure in the north. We're still waiting and duelling for the A1, and this was a big project, and they've just took it away. So very disappointed.
Oh, I recognise that train, that very train carriage.
Can I ask you as a northerner, and I mean that with respect, David's in East Yorkshire. Nick, here's the point, right? You're from Blackpool. Is the money better spent? I noticed what David said about the bigger city wins. Is it better spent, billions of it, creating a train line, or is it better, if it's going to happen, that 36 billion quid is spent improving infrastructure up north? What's your opinion?
I don't believe for a second that what has been pledged will actually make its way to the north, because that's what happens repeatedly over and over again. We're promised something that's not delivered. Meanwhile, London and some areas in the south, I accept not all, get both options.
That's what Andy Burnham
David?
said, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. David, what's your response to that?
Well, I don't agree. I mean, first off, the trouble, one of the problems with HS2 is it sucked money out of everything else. It's been increasing so fast in cost that the government's always trying to find the money, and they tend to find it in the same capital budget. So we don't get the dualling of the M1 or the A1. We don't get the connections we ought to have. And the thing that people forget is that unlike the rest of, certainly unlike the south, the north is an area of large numbers of medium-sized towns, all the old industrial centres of the north. And there's nothing better you could do for the economy in infrastructure terms than join up those towns, make them, as it were, into a wide network. And people have talked about it in parties of all sorts. I mean, not just ours, the Labour Party members have talked about it too, those who come from the north. And the truth be told, I mean, I view HS2 as a southerner's idea of levelling up. I don't view it as an Northerner's idea of levelling up. Of course, you'll get Northerners now who promised it, Northern MPs who promised it, who want to defend it. But it never had an opportunity of delivering what was promised for it. I mean, even at its best, it was estimated to save about 20 minutes on your journey to London. Now, when I travel on a train, it's working time for me. Being on it for more than 20 minutes is not saving the economy. It's actually another 20 minutes I'm going to work undisturbed before I have to get on the tube. And it's true. It's true for most businessmen who travel. I used to be a businessman before I took on this wonderful pursuit. And most businesses, when they travel, work on the train. What they want is a train with a Wi-Fi that works, a decent service for coffee, a place to work, a table. That's a lot cheaper than building a complete new system, which is what we set out to do.
Or
so
arguably,
I think it's the right thing to do.
Arguably, this is what I do on a train. I have an extra 20-minute nap. Now, David, can I quickly ask you? Yes.
My constituents don't allow that.
do you think it was a good or bad idea for Rishi Sunak to effectively ban smoking from anyone at the age of 14 or younger? Yes or no?
It's a brilliant idea. One of the great, I mean, we're all very proud of our National Health Service, but let's be clear. What it does is fix people after they're ill. What it's never done very well is prevent people becoming ill. I mean, you may remember even during COVID, they actually shut down Public Health England because it was doing such a bad job. And this is, it's not often Prime Ministers stand up and announce something which will save tens of thousands of lives every year once it's operational. And that's what this will do. We know smoking kills. There's absolutely no scientific dispute about that. It's a clear, plain fact. We know it's difficult. We know the problem that once you get addicted, it's very hard to get off. Both my parents were smokers. They both eventually gave up. But even so, they still died of cancer because they gave up late. This is a very, very sensible move. And I think, look, some people will be irritated at it. I mean, some people would call themselves libertarian. I mean, it makes me laugh because I'm probably the only libertarian in the house. But the people who call themselves libertarians say, oh, this is a bad idea. No, it's a very good idea.
David?
It will save lives and save money.
David, always a pleasure. Delighted to have you on Talk today. Very interesting insight into what you make as still a Northern MP. We appreciate that.
Yeah,
Former Brexit Secretary. Thanks, David, so much. David Davis.